Greetings again on this 20th Sunday of the year. We continue with Jesus speaking to us from the Gospel of Luke. And he's reminding us about the challenges that we face in our life of Christian discipleship. You know, of all the biblical vocations, that of the prophet, I would think, is probably the most difficult one. Because of all his warnings and the calls to return to the Lord, Jeremiah is seen by the Jewish leaders as a demoralizing and divisive voice. And so they try to kill him. And we can see this in our own society, particularly in Australia at the moment, that anybody that sort of sticks their head up for Christian teaching and behaviour and values is seen as divisive, sometimes even called hateful. And Jesus talks about his own mission in the same light, that he calls us to make a decision, to follow him or not to follow him. And that is the decision that will be a cause of division in our society and even in our families. Perhaps you've had personal experience of that division in your own lives. I know that I certainly have in mine. These readings remind us yet again about what is truly central to the teaching of Judaism and Jesus' own teaching: repentance, a call to constantly turn back to God, to change our hearts, to change our minds, to do so with all our strength, to conform the way we think to the way God thinks. In other words, to conform our whole life, our attitudes, our behaviour to the teachings of Christ. And this teaching is prophetic in the true sense of the word, and it has never been popular. Jesus was crucified for it. Many of the prophets were killed because of it. Suffering caused by being faithful to Christ is something that has always been with the Christian church, right from day one, right from Stephen. There is the ordinary struggle that we all have to be faithful in a world that often criticises Christianity or tries to water it down so that it does not challenge the political and moral behaviours of the day. But there have always been those, even in modern times, who have lost their lives because of their prophetic stance against the society of their time or the powerful people of their time. People like Oscar Romero and the Jesuit university community in El Salvador. Various figures in communist Europe last year, people like Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who was martyred in Auschwitz, or the German Lutheran pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was executed in World War II Germany because he stood up to Hitler. You know, there is an ancient saying, the blood of martyrs is the seed of Christians. And it seems when you look at church history that it is very true. Whenever the faith is persecuted, it seems to be strengthened, in fact. So maybe there's hope for our world yet. Christianity was never stronger in Poland than during the Nazi and communist persecutions of the 20th century. The prophet is the one who will unhesitatingly stand by God's side because it's impossible for him or her to stand anywhere else. And the true prophet, like Jeremiah, like Jesus, who is much more than a prophet, will cause division. People will either love them or hate them. Families will be divided, as will societies, not because we go looking for division, but because the truth does that. In other gospel passages, Jesus prays that we will all be one and live in his peace. But that is the key. Not just any unity, not just any peace, but the unity and peace of Christ. This is an invitation to all people, but the reality is that some will accept and some won't. And therein lies the division. Jesus shows us in his life and teaching that there are times when we must stand up for the truth. We do not believe, us Christians, we don't believe in peace at any cost. So what are we asked to stand up for today? Justice and compassion towards those who suffer under any form of totalitarianism, whether it's the prevailing sexual orthodoxy of our society, the gender theory orthodoxy of our society, or whether it's standing up for those who suffer under any kind of inequality in our own society, first and foremost the poor, the marginalised, the defenceless, such as the unborn. We are meant to stand up for the integrity of the family, faithfulness in marriage and sexuality according to our state in life, not anything goes, which seems to be the norm in the last few decades. We're called to stand up for the dignity and the good of life at all stages of human development. In other words, from conception to natural death. In other words, we're called to live and proclaim a true and fully human ethics that protects all people, that doesn't sacrifice one person or one group for the benefit of another. I'm sure you can add more instances. There is no doubt that this is difficult and leads to the cross, but that is exactly what Jesus says will happen when we are faithful to him. But it is not all doom and gloom. The reading from the letter to the Hebrews shows us an unimaginable destiny for those who follow Jesus. It makes the prophet's pain all worthwhile. It is why, all through the ages, Christian men and women have been willing to sacrifice themselves for Christ, because our destiny is infinitely greater than our death. May God bless you.